Yeah, maybe it was sitting there for too long. All right, here we go. Here we go. This meeting is being live streamed. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good magical morning. I'm just
Yes.
thrilled to be here. I'm just thrilled to be here. Just thrilled to be here. Just thrilled to be here. How about you, Bina? How about you?
Okay, hello and welcome everyone. We are live again as usual. And this is what Sil was just saying that, okay, this thing is actually leveraging energy by its own. It's not like something we are just like oh, obliged to do something. No, it is
Oh,
like, okay, yes, we are excited. And when the time comes, we are all ready for that, okay, yes, let's do this. And
yeah,
this is the real fun of doing all these. Okay, they are very long, of course, not long, but you can say the longish kind of
yeah, yeah,
lives we are doing. But
yeah,
they are actually leveraging us energy. So this is
yeah.
something fun for doing that. Yesterday's session, yes, that yesterday's live was really super fun because we have done the chapter 2, which was like what we were doing before. The before thing was like all dramatic, serious, and yes, like really
Yeah.
profound about the big things.
Look
But
in comments. Go, go,
yes,
go, 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 go,
but
go.
yesterday's one was like, wow, suddenly we were into a completely different mood, in a different scenario, and everything was super, super unusually fun because many people, okay, some participants were saying that, okay, it's almost like having a children's story, but not in
Mm,
any childish way. And that
correct.
was really, really exciting about that.
Yeah,
So we are
yeah,
here and we are going to do now go over and go into detail. Yesterday, Sil has shared a bit about that because we had time and we had that energy also, and people were exciting. All the participants
yeah,
were excited.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we did that. Today we are going to more in detail, and Sil is going to share a lot about that too. So
Yeah.
Sil, please continue, and then because my Facebook is still uploading. I refreshed my
Gotcha,
page to get to the comment.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
yes,
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just busy sharing it and putting it out everywhere and
yes,
updating
no
that, and
problem.
I'm done. So, but I
Yes.
wanted you to look in comments. You're not seeing in comments yet. I
No,
wanted you
not
to
yet
see
because my
who
Facebook is
is
just
in
uploading.
comments there.
Yes. I'm
Ooh,
just going to.
Sarah, Sarah Lind. So
Oh,
wonderful,
oh, that's
wonderful,
wonderful.
wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Ah, exactly, exactly. And
Hello,
Sarah,
Sarah.
it's huge that you're here. Yes, hello, Sarah. Hello. Good morning to you, Sarah. Good morning to you. I love that you're here. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah. Ramsey is here. Ramsey! See, Ramsey's name, you've got to kind of like, I don't know, you got to say it in a dramatic, profound, or mournous way, or some fun way, right? The name just lends to it. So, Ramsey! I don't know. But today it's Ramsey! Yes. I don't know, Ramsey. I love your name. I say it every time, probably. But yes, hello, Ramsey. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Since you got lots of L's there. Right. Brilliant. I just want to emphasize I really love when people come and join, and especially when they say hello. Even if you don't do anything else, but say hello. Why is this so important to me? Because now when I'm sharing and discussing, I'm talking to you also, right? I'm talking to Ramsey and I'm talking to Sarah. Well, beside Bina, I feel like I am. To me, inclusivity is a huge deal. So now you're part of my awareness, consciousness, my circle, my inclusivity, and that's massive for me. I really feel like I'm chatting with you guys. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. So please share also as things come up for you guys. Anything that pops into your head that comes, this is a big deal. So Bina says, hello and welcome everyone. Yes, hello, hello Bina and welcome Bina. I'm just being silly. I'm in a fun mood today. So
Yes.
brilliant. All right. I love that you guys are here. And I really want to emphasize this. This isn't about, there's no competition, there's no performance, there's no criteria, there's no standard. I don't care what you say that you might think it's the stupidest thing ever. That's not part of my thinking. Whatever you say is going to be valuable. I don't care what it is, right? And because this is the paradigm, we are shifting the paradigm. right? So there's no judgment, there's no evaluation. It can be difficult, can be awkward, can be weird. I don't care. Doesn't matter, right? It's all contribution. It's all interaction. It's all valuable, in other words. When we shift this, and it's hard to say it now without demonstrating, but you'll see, it doesn't matter what you say. Try say something ridiculous and stupid and absurd and see what happens. I challenge you. I challenge you. Say something which you think might be like the very thing that you were maybe, if I don't know if either of you have this concern. I know Ramsey doesn't, but just okay, well, I'm going to look foolish or silly. Well, try something that deliberately is now, because now you're saying, okay, yes, Sil, you asked for something that's like looking foolish or silly. So anybody seeing the comments sees that you are going to be looking foolish properly. See, as it were. It's kind of reverse logic, but all right. Anyway, it's a fun demonstration to say it doesn't matter. We're in a different paradigm here. We can do anything. We have this great freedom, and we respond and deal with things. The fact that you're contributing, this is important to us, not what you're contributing, but the fact that you are. Yes, and then we'll go from there and we'll explore it. It doesn't matter. The starting point is irrelevant. And that was the point of yesterday and the point of what we're going to go over today, right? So now I'm connecting it to today, to what we're doing, the go over of chapter 2. The overall, one of the key overall points, there are many overall points. One of the key overall points is it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you start. So this is a very, very, very critical point. Very, very critical point. Very critical point.
Just want to add something about saying hello or hi, or just putting a smiley face in the comments. Why for me personally, why it is so important? Because not everyone has this kind of consideration. Not everyone has this kind of yes, a subtle courage also. People do watch things and they do appreciate also. They do get value also, but not everyone just come and say hello. This is something like you are sharing your part into this. So and doing this is a big significant thing for me personally also, that when people are actually reaching out and they are saying that, okay, yes, I'm here. It's not only just being support, but it's also an acknowledgement. It is also showing your own value also, that how much you are actually valuing yourself. You have that self-trust. Because by showing up, you are actually, okay, for me actually, whenever I'm just going somewhere and when I'm saying, okay, hello, yes, I'm here, I'm taking this responsibility that I'm hearing you and I'm receptive towards you. And it's a big responsibility.
Exactly. Moreness involved. Moreness
Exactly.
involved.
It shows my self-trust. It shows my consideration towards things, and it shows my acknowledgement that, okay, I see some value. Okay, yes, I might not agree with everything. Of course not. Not necessarily.
We're not interested in agreement. We don't care two hoots about agreement or disagreement. It's not part of our vocabulary.
Absolutely. So this whole sharing is completely from a different angle. It's not like what Sil is going to say about it. It's about us, how we are going to perceive it. And that's the real magic here.
Exactly. I just happen to have a lot of stuff that comes out of me. So I'm just like the tap, but it's what you do with the water that's the issue, not the water itself. Oops. Exactly. Very profound comment, Bina. Very profound comment. Sarah and Ramsey, I'm keen to ask you guys, did you see yesterday the live? Particularly, did you get to hear me reading the story? I'm keen to know. Elizabeth! Hello, Elizabeth. Good morning to you, Elizabeth. Good morning to you. I'm very thrilled you're here. Now, I know Elizabeth was here, but Ramsey and Sarah, please let me know. I am keen to know if you guys watched at least partially. The reason I'm asking is because the way I read the story yesterday, for me personally, that was the best ever reading of that I've ever done of a story. Right? I mean, as like when you read a story, you get into it and you share it and you feel it and all this, right? It's a skill. It's a skill. So I'm curious, and that's why I'm asking, because yesterday was special in that regard. But also in terms of our go-overs here with things. Yeah, I figured, Ramsey, but I wasn't sure if maybe you watched the replay or not, right? Because then it will change our go over today. Like if you and Sarah didn't get a chance to watch yesterday or watch the replay, then we'll do a bit more of the reading part and not just maybe stop every sentence, right? We'll just get into it a little bit so you can catch the story. So wonderful, Elizabeth, that you're here. Wonderful. And Elizabeth, I added a couple of your comments from yesterday to the program, right? So I have to go back and read it. I was in yoga teacher training all weekend. Fantastic, fantastic. So I love that. Thank you for that share. So brilliant. So Sarah is, I assume you are training to be a yoga teacher, or you training other people to be yoga teachers. Yeah, to watch it. That's fine. It's just that it was particularly nice reading of the story, and I read it in one whole block, so it's worth watching from that point of view. Because now you hearing all my nuance, my energy, and how the story can hear from that, how I intended to be heard, and so lots of stuff will come from that. But it's not critical. We're going to read some of it again today. But typically when we do the go overs, I have whoever's on Zoom with me, I have them read in addition to me. I like to spread it out a little bit, and it's also like me that gives her practice to read. Yeah, and because this type of reading, when you read a story, it's a learned skill. It takes a lot. You training. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. That's very fun. That's good to know. That's good to know. That's good to know. I love it, Sarah. I love it. All right, so we'll go through this and we'll just share now. We'll do a little bit different. So now you're going to get treated to Bina reading. Yes, Bina, are you ready to read? Bina? Well, maybe not.
Oh, yes, sorry. Say it again,
Okay,
please.
so I'm saying we're going to reread it, but I'll read the opening quote, and then you can start reading the story. Yeah, and then we'll discuss as things come up, as we typically do. But because both Ramsey and Sarah have not heard the story before, we're going to read a little longer. We'll read till the first thoughts and exercises. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So I'll do the quote, and
Yes.
then well, this is the start too. I just wanted to show the little video here. I don't know how well it's showing. There we go. Just kind of fun, right? So that infernal machine, chapter 2. And the chapter 2 is of the new nobles. Right. The real magic of anomalies lies in the resolution of doubt. The memory of the magic is a temporary joy, even though it lasts a long time and never fully goes away. But the resolution of doubt, that lasts a lifetime, forever locking us into knowing the decision resulting from the anomaly is unquestionable. Those decisions become anchor points of power, the cornerstones and foundations for a life that builds. A life that builds on magical decisions which are inviolate. A life that builds on magical decisions that are inviolate. Magical decisions we know are long-term overview decisions, decisions appropriate in the overall context, a phenomenal gift. The phenomenal gift of anomalies, the gift of connection to the universal supercomputer, the gift of access, the gift of access, the gift of access. From Insights of the New Nobility. Before we continue, don't worry about dissecting this right now. Just let it sit in your mind. And then as the story unfolds, set the program in your brain to connect this to what's coming, right? It's a very overview, very abstract, but it will make sense as the story goes through, how it connects, right? It's a fun way to do things, very fun way to do things. All right. Are you ready, Bina? And you can read. It's big enough. Everything is good. You can read.
Yes. Yes, it seems
All
like.
right.
Biella is
Wonderful.
still deep in thought. From the discussion on appropriateness, took a stroll through the gardens, providing space for her thoughts to penetrate. to permeate. But Shah, a quietly adventurous girl, gifted with an exquisite sense of comprehension beyond words, approached her. Biala, she started somewhat shyly. Instantly, she had Biala's full attention. Yes, Biala decided to take a chance, sensing the need to prod over ever so slightly. It was not something she did lightly. Too many assumptions, but occasionally pushing boundaries was needed. You wanted to ask me about where the boundaries of appropriateness are. Sure, was all the Shah could manage. Inside her head, a different story altogether. Her mind roiled. She was confused. That's not at all what I had wanted to say, she thought. What I actually, how could Biela have been so utterly and completely wrong? She wondered. This was Biela. No, something didn't add up here. But she began again. I don't know what to say, said Shah, an expression of that pretty much says it all on her face. How do you mean, Shah? Biela asked. They were strolling now, along one of the numerous paths through the extensive gardens. Strolling, Biala knew, an excellent mechanism for removing the awkwardness of pausing in conversation. When strolling, one could say as little as much whenever one wanted. Biala loved that. Things could flow as they came. Let's play a small game, Biala said with an earnest friendliness. She wanted Shah to know she was serious, but it was not to be taken too seriously. You only say the very next thing you are forced to say out loud. Okay? Shah almost said, okay, as an automatic response, but got herself, smiled, and nodded. This should be interesting, Shah mused to herself. I have gone days without saying anything. Biala continued strolling, content to wait. She enjoyed Shah's presence, a treat being near her. Biala happy to have Shah all to herself for weeks if need be. Biala had crazy patience, which wasn't always obvious. But Biala had a plan. Biala always had a plan. Shah and Biala strolled through the gardens of virtue, a clean garden, tall, neat trees, wide expanse of grass, with islands of plants or flowers representing the virtues. But Biala chose a more direct route to the next garden, the garden of strategic ethics. This garden is marked contrast to the garden of virtue, being complicated, involved, all type of intricately placed trees, shrubs, bushes, plants, flowers, and grasses connected, while are waterways of varying sizes, complex mechanical structures moving water and spreading fertilizer populated the garden. The effect of the experience revealed an artful integration, which showed the sophisticated interconnectivity of design favored by the new nobility. Hey, what? Shard suddenly said. Biela noticed a friend of Shar's mouthing something to Shah, a friend too far away to hear. Biela had observed the friend in her peripheral vision, but had deliberately chosen not to specifically pay attention. The comment pertinent and appropriate to their conversation. Biela felt the familiar surge of joy and excitement whenever these seemingly random yet Convenient and appropriate coincidences came her way. Such splendid gifts. Yes, what is exactly the central issue? Biella said, continuing, as if this a part of their conversation. She'd use whatever presented. We can get stuck on what when we have to choose what we often end up not knowing. Not because we have nothing, even though it seems so, but because we have too many choices. She paused, giving Shah the opportunity to mull this over. If I were to say pick something at random, most of us think context, purpose, why, wherefore, and much more. Without any further input, the choices are innumerable. Without criteria for choosing, we come to a halt, usually expressing this as, I don't know. Yes? Bialek continued immediately, making the question rhetorical for now. So we are left with the issue of how to choose randomly without guiding criteria. Some minds are just unable to do this. For those minds, there has to be some sort of choice mechanism. Finding a way to resolve this problem is very important. We are prompted more often than we realize by life to introduce something, to start somewhere, to initiate.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Bina. All right, and just to put this into context, by the way, Bina is reading Sight Unseen. Yes, this is off the cuff. Now, right, she heard me read the story for the first time yesterday. But still, this is without any preparation, any go over ahead of time, no rehearsing, no nothing, right? So,
Exactly.
and
This
this
is
is
what I was
right.
about to say. That you
Yeah,
just gave.
but this is significant though, right? Because looking in our greater context of practicing our moreness, this is a practice of first of all trust in yourself, is it not?
Yes.
Right? You're trusting that you are able to do this. Yeah. Now, you don't mind making mistakes. It's not an ego issue. But you
Mhm.
also, you're reading to others, and you don't want to be stressing them, as it were, and asking them
Exactly.
to sit through your, oh man, seriously, come on, right? So there's a consideration involved. So you want
Yes,
to do a reasonable job as a point of consideration, right?
exactly.
So there's a
It's,
little bit of pressure, but it's an appropriate pressure. It's a pressure that comes out of goodness and kindness and consideration and moreness. That's right. It's not an ego issue. So that's the first point, right? So you were practicing, exercising, acting on your self trust, right? And that's a big deal. Plus, then you also trusting that you are going to be able to actually do this in the time. So you're trusting your ability to pay attention, particularly to punctuation. Yes. I'm just teasing you a little bit, right?
yes,
And
because
things
this
like
is
that.
something I
So
need
it's
to
it's
work.
about attention, right? So you got the energy, the attention, and to emote and to share the energies appropriately, and to catch the meaning of things and to share that. So lots of things that you're doing here, right? Lots of practice, lots of practice. So this is a very very cool thing. So before we go through the thoughts and exercises here, and I actually want to go back and go over the slides because there's a couple of points that I did want to mention. Elizabeth, Ramsey, Sarah, anything that comes up in you guys that you want to comment on? Anything? All right. While I go. All right. So this the quote. We went into the quote in fairly deep detail, but just the quote is about the real magic of anomalies. And when I say real magic here, I mean like, the centrifugal force or gyroscopic force is real magic. Electronics, real magic, right? But also real magic in the sense that something happens that we can't explain, like anomalies. That's why they're anomalies, right? So, and to take this here as the gift of access. That's why I read it 3 times, right? It's a very big deal. That it's a very big deal. This gift of access. So this whole quote, and this is typically how I'm writing my story. The quotes at the beginning of the chapters, they clue us in that there's a deeper moreness that's going to come into that's going to be shared in the story, right? It's not just the story of Biella and Shar interacting and whatever they're doing, right? There's multi layers of deeper moreness in it. So again, and also this technique of saying, I don't know what's going on here, but don't let that stop you. To say, I don't know what all this means yet. And you leave it open in your brain to say, brain, uh, I sort of get this, but I also realize it's relative to the story. So I have to wait and see and then come back to this or let it fall into place later on. It's a very specific awareness, understanding, discernment technique. It's very, very powerful, right? And many writers deliberately write that. Yeah, mistakes I've made, but that's how we grow. It's through awareness, moreness, deeper layers. Beautiful. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly, exactly. And you know, in this reality, in the new nobility reality, and because their whole system is based on moreness and way of impeccability and all sorts of things, they don't really have this word mistakes. It doesn't come about. They just do, and they do impeccably. And when you do impeccably, whatever results is going to work out in some way or another. It may not work out the way you think it was, that you hoped it would, or that you had an idea it would, or that was even a high probability. It may go be completely in a different direction. But because they're open, they look at how it turns out, and they start looking for the moreness, and they always find it. Yeah, it's a profound thing to remove mistakes from our thinking and our vocabulary. If you're being impeccable, whatever happens, always good. It's incredible. It's an absolutely incredible thing. So this real magic of anomalies is to say, when I don't know, I now need to look outside of myself to assist me in making decisions. Yes, and this is the story as we go through it. Right. So this, they're meeting here, and this chance that Biella takes. Now, Shah, as we get to know a little bit later, like right now, again, here's another point where something doesn't quite make sense in context, but it makes sense later on. Shah is a very thoughtful, very quiet, not necessarily shy, but she uses very seldom says anything, and you'll see later on in the story, right? So she's coming to Biella, and she's Biella, and she doesn't say much more. But so Biella prompts her, not because she knows that Shah would eventually say what she's saying, but something anomalous in Biella urges her to take this chance. It's not something she did, but the chance she's taking is to take this Biella, which can go anywhere, and it could just end up being, well, whatever she wanted to say, something just ordinary and regular. But because Biella's taking the chance, she opens a door to moreness, and she's aware of this, right? So that's why she does this thing where what she says is in a way completely inappropriate. Yes, uh, uh, yes, it's seemingly connected, but this is you wanted to ask me where the boundaries of appropriateness are. It's a little bit presumptuous, right? I mean, she's just assuming she knows what Shah's going to say. It's not something that someone like Biella or any of the new nobility or even the aspirants would do. It's just out of their system. They're not going to be presumptuous like this, right? Why? Why say this? But that's why she's taking a chance. And the chance here results in, like, well, Biella knows that this may or may not be accurate, right? But she knows this, and she does this deliberately because it jumps Shah's mind. Yes. And then the thing starts to flow from there. And Biella knows this, that if you do something sometimes randomly for no reason, just intuitively, or just randomly, just taking a chance, that they can lead to profound places, as what happens here, right? So now, like she basically shifts Charles' brain into a whole other way of thinking. Like, but what's going on, right? I don't know what to say. An expression of her face. That kind of expression. No. And now Biella's prompting her again. How do you mean? But nothing comes, right? And they're just walking and strolling, and then Biella has a second intuitiveness, right? Let's play a game. And she says, you only say the very next thing you are forced to say out loud. It is a game that the new nobility play, and it's a very powerful game. because so often we just say things. We're in the habit of saying things because, well, we just say things. We don't really need to say it, yes, or forced. Forced is in somewhat in inverted commas here, right? So forced is not literally forced, right? But where there's a pressure, a need, an importance, a relevance, a pertinence, etc. Right? It's a very profound game that they play. So this comes up. And then this is the part that I wanted to. I'm going to read your comment in 1 second, Elizabeth. So now we also get the clue here on Shah. Shah almost said okay as an automatic response because Biella knows this. You only say the very next thing you're forced to say out loud, okay? Just our natural rhythm, if we are not paying attention and being mindful, we just say okay by default. Now, as part of their oral culture and what we do in here now too, we want to be mindful so that we aren't just so automatic. Our deep way of impeccability is to say, I want to deal with habits. Habits is the big enemy, right? So Shah catches herself, which tells us that, oh, Shah's on the ball here. Shah's waking up, right? But she still doesn't know exactly what's going on, right? But she sets herself up and she doesn't say, whatever. She says, no, this should be interesting, which again shows the underlying mindset, which is the whole mindset of the new nobility, the aspirants, everybody involved here, that you automatically have this positivity and you want to learn, to grow, to interest, right? So now they walk a little bit more, nothing like that. But Biella has a plan because she already now has this idea that something more is going on here. So because she thinks ahead, that always having a plan is this anticipation and you look ahead. So you always have a plan for moreness. You may not know the details, but you always have a plan. And the plan is, I'm going to learn. The plan is, I'm going to be open. The plan is, I'm going to be responsive, receptive. That's a plan. See, she always had a plan. Now, sometimes it may get a bit more specific. And at that point in time, Biella likely had this idea already to head to the garden of inspiration, right? Because that's what came through, right? Because it's this prompting in this game. So, all right, we get a little bit of description of Nobelia. It's a beautiful place and just the logic underlying stuff. So we get to see discernment and sophistication is part. But now Charles Hadley says, hey, what? They're still playing the game, right? What's forced out of you? And this was kind of forced out of her because she sees her friend's trying to tell her something, but too far away to hear. So she says, hey, what? Right? And this is anomalous in a kind of a way for Biella, or at least significant to her because she can use it. And she gets this. Biella felt that familiar surge of joy and excitement whenever these seemingly random yet convenient and appropriate coincidences came away. So the coincidence of the friend mouthing the stuff and Shar saying, hey, what? Biella takes this as a profound question from the universe, from moreness. Hey, what? Now, if we take that as a question asked by moreness or by the universe, oh, it suddenly is a whole other question, right? It jumps into a whole other category. And this is what I meant to say, that when Biella took the chance, she knew that something like this would happen. And then she feels this joy that when these seemingly random things, okay, she took a chance and then stuff started happening. And one, and then two, and three, and oh, now suddenly it's not so random anymore. And she recognizes this from past experience. This is when magic and the universe and moreness starts to get involved. And it's very, very exciting. It's very, very, very exciting, right? So I'm really making this profound effort here to point out that this is an underlying understanding, a knowing, you could say, I want to say a policy, but it's kind of a philosophy or a way of doing things, a technique, you might call it, a tool that Biella is aware of. And by starting in that chance, random in other words, she opened the door for moreness to come. She opened the door for moreness to come. It's a very big deal. It's a very, 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 very big deal. It's a very big deal. And we can do this in our own lives. So I really want to connect to this. We're going to read your comment. I know your comment, it's coming, Elizabeth. It's coming. I don't want to ignore you. But this is a big deal that I'm saying here. Because I am keen when we read these stories to not to say, wow, this is fun, this is entertaining. That's not the point of the story. Yeah, it's a bonus, but it's not the point of what we're doing here. The point is, at least for me, is to say, What can I take away from this that I can use, that will give me actual value? This particular technique, starting by Biella taking that chance. And the chance here is introducing a random element. She just, let's just, instead of going along the usual stuff, Shah comes and says, Biella, well, likely it's going to lead to some usual, ordinary, typical conversation. Is that you, officer? Thank you. Ah, they didn't hear me, but I like to say thank you. I like to say thank you to them. So we can do this in our own lives, right? So Biella says, well, all right, we can have a usual, regular conversation, or we can spice things up a little bit. We can throw the dice here and see, maybe it comes up double six or whatever, right? And we can get moreness coming out of it, right? So this is very cool. This is very, very, very cool. This is very cool. Thank you. Thank you. So this is awesome, right? This is really a cool thing to do, to know that we can do this in our own lives also. Yes. Bina dropped off. I was going to have Bina read Elizabeth's comment there. Elizabeth says, when anomalies happen, our minds will flood with excuses to make sense with logic for what's not logical. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And Biella, in her profound sophistication, as we're going to come to see, Biella is ridiculously sophisticated. She is intimately and acutely aware of this. And Biella and the new nobility have a meta-logic. And a meta-logic is when you are seeing the logic in illogic. Yes, that's meta-logic. And so this is a big deal, right? That we don't want our minds to get involved in little L logic. We want to see big picture logic, in which the random makes sense, in which this illogicality is supposedly illogical, but it leads you on a path, right? It takes you somewhere. To be absolutely certain it happened the way you experience and decide to remember it and keep it as a certainty, to assist you in building so I'm a little slow there. Building a bigger self-conception. This is resolution of doubt. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I hope you mean this for me. Yes, right? Just to practice new nobility expression, right? That they try to say things not in a telling way, but in a sharing way, right? So this. I mean, yes, what you're saying is in a greater sense, absolutely makes sense. But just a good practice to always have that for me in there, right? That you're sharing it as a personal perception. You're not saying this is absolutely what it is, even though you might truly believe that, but we still don't say it that way. It's just a good practice, right? So this is very cool to remember it and keep it as a certainty to assist you in building a bigger self-conception. Yes, Elizabeth, when we start to incorporate the connectivity to anomalies as part of the building of our self-conception, this is a very profound thing. In other words, in Biella's self-conception, her self-conception says, I can act randomly. I can follow up on random things that happen in my life. I can run with what starts randomly and what maybe jumps randomly. Yes, I can, like she took a chance. She started to introduce a random thing. Then the random was, there was a second random thing, which is Shah saying, hey, what? Well, in response to a friend, that was somewhat random, the friend doing that, mouthing from that far, which is a little unusual in the context that somebody, they would just come there and say something, right? I mean, they probably know they can't hear. It's a little bit illogical, right? That they would try and say something to Shah and, well, it's just too far away. It's like, really, what are you doing, right? That's why she says, hey, what? Like, what this doesn't make any sense, right? So this was Biella now responding to this illogicality, but she doesn't go in the usual way. It's like, wow, maybe the usual way would have said, that's sort of interesting that your friend mouthed this at you, knowing you can't hear, and it's but inappropriate. It's a little unusual. And Charlotte said, yeah, like, what's up with that? That's why I said, hey, what? And so on and so forth, right? So Biella is responding to this, and her self-conception allows her to do that because she's already built that in. She's built in her ability to be responsive, not reactive. Yeah. And also to be responsive in a way that jumps out of the typical usual responses. And that's where this familiar surge of joy and excitement, when these seemingly random yet convenient and appropriate coincidences. I mean, this coincidence is very appropriate to her, that's what we're forced to say, because she's going to now run with it and take it more, right? And then what comes more, right? Ramsey says there's a lot of power in not forcing things. Exactly. The least you force stuff, the more things go smoothly. And this is what I think Moreness is all about. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we're going to come to attunement, the profound philosophy of attunement. And attunement is precisely the philosophy, the practice, the skill, the art of maximizing connectivity to Moreness. Let me repeat that. Attunement is the skill, the art, etc., of maximizing connectivity to Moreness. That's attunement, at least in the way that Way-of-Impeccability uses it and the way that the New Nobles use it. Now, it's inherent in the word itself, in the concept itself. We are just taking that to its absolute maximum via application and usefulness. Again, our intent, our agenda is always usefulness and value. How can I use this? How can I use this? How can I use this? Otherwise, it will go in one ear, out the other ear, right? And if you're just trying to remember it, you're not going to learn much. There's only so much we can remember, because when we try and remember stuff, we're putting it on the hard drive. And that's not what your computer does to operate with. It's the programs that makes you use the data that matter. So these conceptions, each conception that you put into your dictionary of power, right? This conception of attunement, for instance, that's like its own little program or own big program. Attunement is a massive program. It's like your word processor, or your spreadsheet program, or whatever program, right? Or like your browser, probably the most accurate. It's a profound program because it allows for this, not just connectivity and access, but how to access and connect to Moreness. What was that first quote? The very last point of the first quote was all about access, right? Right? Access to Moreness, access to Moreness. Yeah. Where is that now? I'm just not forgetting the exact wording. The gift, the capital G, gift of access. And this quote is really unusual, by the way. It's got tons of capitalization, and I'm not just using this because I love capitalization. And some people get lost with it, right? No, every one here is meaningful. It's capital A anomalies. The resolution of doubt. It's a thing in itself, right? It has its own potency. Normally, I would actually put resolution of doubt with the. I suppose I can do that now. When I wrote this, I was a bit cautious of using the hyphenated stuff, but this absolutely does need to be hyphenated, because resolution of doubt it's a compound concept. It's a singular thing, right? It's not, when we say the resolution of doubt, we're talking about doubt being resolved, but resolution of doubt hyphenated is a conceptual understanding, right, of that doubt resolution is a thing. It's a very specific and deliberate thing. So that's why these hyphenations make a difference. It's subtle, yes. And you might say, I don't really see the difference. But the more you think about it, the more you'll see there's a very, very phenomenal difference, right? Very big difference to it. So, and as I was saying now, we're going to use this. So absolutely, Ramsey, on what you're saying, yes. That this not forcing things and through attunement. And look what Biella is doing here. Something random comes to her, and she takes a chance. She's not forcing it. She's not pressing it, but she introduces this idea of something being forced out of us. Now, in the way she's saying this here, it's actually totally in line with what you were saying. Even though she said, let's play this game to only say what comes and is forced out of us. And that's actually a game of not forcing things. You see what I mean? It's very subtle because they're allowing it to come and happen of its own accord, right? Even though the word forces here. Or we could just say what pops out of us, what comes, what's absolutely appropriate to say. But it's just, that's kind of a clumsy way to say. Force is kind of a more fun way, right? But she's letting things happen, in other words. Let's go and let's see and let things happen, because if it's forced out of you, it's happening of its own accord. I'm not doing it. Yeah, see how it's not forcing things and allowing opening space for Moreness, Ramsey? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not explaining to you as if you don't understand. I'm just doing a repeat back and saying how cool it is that what you say is is this just in a different way of saying it. I love it. I love it. It's a really big deal. So by the way, this is just part of my communication strategy. I'll say the exact same thing as you just said, because I'm doing a repeat back. I'm saying my own words in my own way to make it my own. Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping you guys are doing too. A lot of the times, just say the same obvious thing that's been said, just say it in your own words. It's very powerful. I know Elizabeth does this a lot, which is very cool. And you too, Ramsey. It's very cool. So let's continue. It's just fun parts of communication. And I just wanted to really emphasize on this point where this Biella felt that familiar surge of joy and excitement whenever these seemingly random yet convenient and appropriate coincidences came away. They aren't really coincidences. They're products of intent, materialization of intent coming out, attention, right? So Biella took this chance, her energy, and then Shar also went with it. And so the energy starts to build, the attention starts to build, and now we get this magic start to happen, right? And that's why in that opening quote, it was talking about that specific magic, right? And the real magic of it. And so now we're starting to see how this real magic works. Now, yes, it's a story, right? And you say, well, it's easy to contrive this, but I've experienced what I'm writing here many times. Yes. So, yes, the story is obviously I had to make, and actually it was very difficult to write, by the way. I really have to emphasize that. To write about anomalies, to create an anomalous situation, it's very difficult. Elizabeth, you've obviously experienced anomalies. Yeah, try and write a story about it. Try and fictionalize a thing, not about your experience, but try and make up an anomaly from scratch. It is insanely difficult because when we've experienced anomalies, they are so anomalous, they don't fit any patterns of logic or sense or rationality. And our brains kind of refuse to actually write that because, well, your brain is saying, but this is kind of nonsense. Come on, seriously, who's going to believe that? It makes no sense. And that's why it's so difficult to write, because it's so improbable, it's so unrealistic, it's so unfeasible, it's so implausible. Anomalies, that's why they're anomalies. They go, they fall out of all categories. So I was very thrilled that I was able to write it, but also because I did what Biella is doing here. I let things flow. I let things come. I took what happened and I ran with that. So then the story sort of wrote itself. And this is a profound thing. And I did say something once before, and I'll repeat it again. When we, especially in writing, specifically with writing, this is a very powerful writing skill. Write ugly, edit pretty. In other words, don't be thinking about how cutely, how prettily, how nicely your wording punctuated. No. You only focused on the story. When you focused on the story, your brain starts to emphasize and immerse inside the story. And the nodes fire up and they get excited and they start connecting with stuff and they get inspired and they jump. And then story starts to flow. And the more story starts to flow, the more it starts to feed on itself. And pretty soon the story is writing itself. But if you keep this up, something truly magical, profound happens that jumps right outside the thing. You find that the story starts to write you. And by this, I mean that the things in the story become very pertinent to you, very relevant to you, and you grow, you learn, you change, you update from the writing of the story, because the story is running with itself. And now, though, you see, but wait a second, the story actually, whoa, it's got a lot to do with me. I'm changing in allowing this to happen. It's a most profound thing. So when I said that about the story starts to write you, it's a very deep, multi-layered, very profound comment. Yeah, it's a very big deal. But I'm keen to really emphasize this point, that this is something we can do. What Biella did here, right? She just took a chance at two things. Now you don't have to necessarily initiate the chance, but when something random comes your way that is anomalous, right? To then not like Elizabeth said, not to let our regular mind say, what is this? And try and rationalize and say, oh, it must be the wind. Oh, it's some reflection of the light. It's some trick of a wind or whatever. Who knows, or maybe I sniffed some mushroom powder or something, in the wind, who knows? We make excuses for anomalies, in other words. When we don't do that and we see where it's going to lead us and we let run with it, and we have this like the story. Right? At first you let it run, and then you come to realize, whoa, the story is only writing itself. Like the anomaly has its own story to tell. but that story is a story that writes you. This is absolutely, absolutely applicable to anomalies. But it's the mechanism, right? Allowing it to happen, being open, flowing with it, paying attention. They're tools to enhance this connectivity, right? And we see Biella doing this here, right? She follows through on it, keeps going on it, right? So now she says, "Hey, what?" And she's treating what, this question, yeah, right? She say, what is exactly the central issue? And this is where the story started to write itself from this point, yeah. Where it said this, like, what we can get stuck when we have to choose because we don't always know what to choose, and we have too many choices. Now we're getting into choice, and where typically we get stuck in our lives, and where doubt is an issue. That is only an issue because we don't know what to choose, right, Elizabeth? If you knew what to choose, you wouldn't have any doubt when you think of it that way. Yeah. Or we have too many choices and we don't know which one to choose. It's still a choice problem. So doubt is not being able to choose. You say, well, what should I choose? What should I do? What are my choices? Are they even choices? I don't know. Again, I don't know that I'm doing the right thing. Well, if you knew the choice, whatever it was, your plane's on fire and you got to jump out with a parachute. Well, there's no choice here. You're going to burn up or jump, right? There's no choice. So even though you might not want to do it, it's still, it's the right thing to do, right? At least for most people, amazingly enough, there are people that even in situations like that cannot make a decision. They panic and they die. It's fascinating. We don't want to be those people. Yeah. It happens. It happens far more often than we'd like. So just be aware that we can go against our own best interest. In other words, it's quite fascinating. It really is fascinating. So now Biella comes to this, right? If I were to say pick something at random, I have to ask you guys. All right, Ramsey, Sarah, Elizabeth, pick something at random. What? How long does it take you before you actually pick something at random? We're so conditioned to, am I giving the right answer? What does he mean? What is he asking for? What is he trying to get? Pick something at random. You can absolutely say anything. Pick something at random. I didn't even say it needs to be a noun. It can be a concept. It can be a verb. It can be adverb, adjective, clause, a preposition. You could just say a. That's a something. Anything is a something. See, but our brains are so, it's such a simple question. You think to pick something at random, you've got literally the entire universe to pick from. And yet we can't do it. Or at least most people can't, right? Isn't that incredible? Because we think we have to have these criteria. We can't just literally follow the question. Pick something at random. Okay. First thing that comes to mind, whatever that was. Yesterday when I was demonstrating this to somebody afterwards, fiddlesticks is what popped into my mind. Pickles. There you go. Lisa says pickles. It's fantastic. Yeah. Ramsey, what's the first thing that comes to you? Pick something at random. Ramsey, what comes to you? Elizabeth, pick something at random, please. Sarah, pick something at random, please. It's fascinating. And again, so pickles. Has Lisa got pickles on her mind? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I could make all sorts of inappropriate jokes with that, but I won't. This is my wife to think. It's only because you put the pickle there and the laughing face. You're cueing me to be inappropriate, Lisa. And I was talking about a comedy show that I think would be a great one, that I wouldn't mind producing, putting on TV. It'd be a great show to do. So there we go. See, Sarah's thing that she chose at random was this crying out, laughing, very laughy face, right? So come, Ramsey, what's your thing that you're choosing at random? And Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth might not be able to respond because Elizabeth's often driving. I know she typed earlier there. So you make me laugh, Sarah. You make me laugh. You make me laugh. I love it. I love it. So I had a paranormal experience a week ago on top of bear's ears. Well, that certainly is very random. Share, please. You see how things pop out. Look at this, everyone. I ask, Sarah, to share something random. But now, look at the magic. See, there's pressure inside of us. Stuff needs to come out. And if we look a little bit deeper, we say, I would say, I would, again, I'm presuming, but now I'll just share a little bit. Yes, I'm going to presume, but I'm presuming that this story, this experience is a big deal for you. You've never had an opportunity to really share it, but yeah, you are getting an opportunity to do so. So please, purple snakes in a nut. Yes, driving. Wow, wow. It's a national monument that is a native tributary land. All right. So please share the paranormal experience. We're going to jump sideways now because exactly what happened in the story is happening now with Sarah, right? We started somewhere and then something jumped. It jumped out of the usual, right? So we have an exponential jump here, a paradigm shift, in other words, right? Kind of, right? That I said, oh, share something random, and what came out was actually a pressure, likely that this is a big deal to Sarah, but she hasn't had an opportunity to share it, and now she is getting an opportunity. So she's creating an opportunity to share it, which is fantastic. We want to hear. This is exactly how these sessions go, how this type of interactivity, this is the new nobility. We call those come up takeaways. It wasn't directly related. It just came up in you, but we want to hear the stuff that comes up. So please share, Sarah. I mean, take your time, type it out. I'll keep going, and then when you share, we'll come back to this. So we may have parallel threads running here, right? I'm going to continue on the discussion, and then also we're going to go to when Sarah Sarah's, then we'll go to that. This is fantastic. On Saida Mesa, yes. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. So Lisa knows where this is. But I want to hear the details of this. I want to hear what you said. You had a paranormal experience. In other words, you had an anomalous experience, unless paranormal is normal for you. Yeah. So I'm very keen to hear, and I'm keen to hear in the context of resolution of doubt and moreness and everything. I suspect there's something that's still unresolved for you in it, and maybe it'll come resolved simply by sharing it. That often happens. Right? It's like sometimes when we ask a question, in the asking, especially when you ask it out loud, when you actually ask it earnestly, the question comes, and you say, "Oh, never mind." So sometimes this happens, and it's a very powerful thing. Yeah, yeah. All right. So please share in detail, Sarah, as much. You're more than welcome to come on. If you do want to come on Zoom and talk instead of type, I'll send you the Zoom link. It's no problem. Anybody's welcome to come on Zoom. I know it's not always possible. So this is very, very, very cool. Very cool. All right. So while we wait on Sarah there, or not really waiting, but while Sarah's typing, and take your time, we'll go over this, the tasks and exercises. Right. Now these are big deals here. I was really, when I did this program is a program that comes after having done a whole bunch of other programs. So I'm not holding anything back here anymore, right? I'm not saying, well, you're still new to this, I'm just going to be kind of a little bit gentle and all this. And no, I'm giving maximum. Yeah, you got to really stretch yourself to do these tasks and exercises by design, right? So the first question here is, if you were to be in charge of anomalies, maybe also for yourself, what would they be? How would they come? What would they communicate? What a fabulous question. What a fabulous question. If you were to be in charge of anomalies, you, the universe, now say, wow, okay, we've got this idea of anomalies. How would they work? What's the point of them? How would they come? What would they communicate? So now we're practicing a particular skill, a new nobility skill, a Biella skill, which is to look at things completely from the other side. Not just one, but many, right? But in this case, we are reverse engineering, because typically we're at the receiving end of the anomalies. And it's like, what does this anomaly mean? But what if I was on the other side and I'm putting out the anomaly. How would that work? Because it'll help us to understand anomalies more. Very cool. Very cool. Sarah says, maybe it was on BLM land overlooking it. All right. So what was the actual paranormal experience, Sarah? I'm keen to know. I'm keen to know. Unless where exactly it was significant for the anomaly, right? Yeah. So in that whole area, there's a lot of BLM land. I mean, Arizona, I think, has the highest percentage of BLM land of any state. And not just BLM land, but also national forest and reservation, etc. Right? So Arizona has the least percentage of privately owned land of any state. Yeah, it's very interesting. We were camping. We were on top of a ridge and sleeping in a tent. It made a lot of noise. Now, that's really interesting. It screamed a lot like a weird animal. Banged my dog bowls. It went on for an hour. Oh, the noise. Okay. So not the tent, right? I thought the tent was making a lot of noise. This is very interesting. Banged my dog bowls. So when you were sleeping, I'm assuming there's a little part that's missing there, right? We were camping. We were on top of a ridge and sleeping in a tent. Something came and made a lot of noise. You don't know what it is, right? If I'm understanding, it screamed a lot like a weird animal, banged my dog bowls, and went on. So essentially, something unidentified made this weird screaming noise, right? Like a weird animal, and banged your dog bowls. So it not only made sound, but it had physical movement also, and it just went on for an hour. Wow. 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 And now let me ask me. I'm going to see if I can get on a live chat. Yes. All right. Let me send you the link then, Sarah. Copy invite link and let me message this to Sarah. Okay. Okay. I sent it to you. You know, I don't know if let's see. We are friends. Good. We are. Then you'll see my message. Yeah. Good. Yes. The land is significant. The fact that it is remote land, it's not very populated land. Yes, and it's significant simply because of the fact that on such land, there are things there that you don't find in civilization or built-up areas, because this is not a place where they are comfortable or hang out or whatever. Brilliant. Yeah, it's Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Oh man, I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I'm just sorry you're missing that Venus here. Well, Lisa's usually joins us too, but I think Lisa's having connectivity issues. So I'm thrilled that you're here, Lisa. Sarah, I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm thrilled that you're here. So I'm just sorry that Venus not here now, and Lisa and Sharon, usually come on Zoom, but that's okay. So tell the story again from. So you guys went out camping. I assume you weren't alone, right? You went camping on a remote land somewhere, like BLM land or wilderness land, right? Right.
Well, we showed up at around 11 o'clock at night.
You only got there at night. That's significant.
Where we were camping, yeah.
Wow.
When we woke up, well, actually, it went on for an hour. It started around 3:43 in the morning. And it went for almost an hour. I couldn't wake up my friend, and I finally woke him up. And when I woke him up, it stopped.
Ooh. Now, there's another significant fact. See why I want to hear you say it, because when you type it, you left out something very significant. Your friend did not wake up for this. You heard it, and it was a profound big deal, but it's like, dude, what the hell's the matter with you? How come you sleeping through this, right? So that's very significant.
Yeah.
It changes the whole story. Now in my mind, I'm already thinking, oh, maybe this was meant just for Sarah. Carry on.
Yeah. So, The next morning, when we finally woke up after it all had happened, we walked out to the edge and we could see the entire Bears Ears National Monument down below us.
Wow.
And
Wow.
while I was
You did not
around,
know.
no, where we were when we camped.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
But I do feel like it was a significant viewpoint, probably for some warriors back in that time. Because as I was walking around the rim of the precipice, I actually found some ruins.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. To go
Yeah.
back to your friend, when he finally did wake up, did he get to hear some of it or not?
He heard it the next night, but it didn't. Well, I was told to sage the area. And
Another
to smudge
significant
him.
fact.
Yes. And I had my Sanskrit poems for my yoga teacher training.
Wow. And
So
you
I
had them
sang
with
in
you?
Sanskrit. Yes, I sang all my chants in Sanskrit
Wow. Do you
to
know what
help
they
create
say
a shift.
do you know what those Sanskrit poems say in English?
Yes,
Can you share with us, please?
I would have to find them, but yes.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
Want me to
I'm keen
find
to
them?
hear because it seems to me that's very significant. Yes. All right. So, Lisa, do you have anything to share on this before I go any further? I'm asking Lisa specifically because Lisa may have some particular insight into this or not. I don't know. We'll see. Ramsey, Elizabeth, anything that comes to you guys? I love that we're going off on a tangent here. It's not a true tangent, right? This is connectivity. This is Moreness connectivity. It's very cool. It's very cool. Very, very, very cool. Come back, Bina. Come back, Bina. Bina lost connection. Yeah, yeah, she's not online now. So I mean, she'll come back as soon as she can. Yeah. I'm keen to hear from you guys what you think on this. So my just on the little data that I have now, I'll just share what comes up in me and what I know and understand. First of all, truly remote places tend to be places where things outside of our usual understanding, energies, activities, whatever you want to call them, spirits, but energies, where those go, because they don't exist or coexist well. Like, I mean, if you're an energy that sounds like you screaming weird animal, this is not something that's conducive to being in a populated area. So who knows? But these things tend to be in such spaces, right? First of all, so that's just a remote place, and this type of activity is more associated with remote places than in populated places. Now, that's just generally so. Second point, you arrived late at night.
Yes.
Now that if you're going to come into, you're a guest in my house and you come and you arrive at 11 o'clock at night and I'm sleeping, well, you may disturb me and I might not be amused.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you might just, whereas if you'd come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 o'clock in the morning and you hang out and then, all right, we're going to sleep. Okay, I've had time to see you and familiarize with you and get a bit more of a connection, right? But now you're in my space here and it's like, hello, you didn't ask, you didn't come, you didn't introduce, you didn't ease into it, so I might not be so predisposed to you, right? So just a simple thing. Now, whether or not whatever is there has this or not, we don't know, but we have to also think that, well, maybe. Yeah. So this is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. So, and then the fact that you woke to it and not your friend, I have a feeling that there, in some way, this was particular to you, right? I'm just looking at all the little cues. I'm being a life detective here, right? And we'll come to a life detective later on. Not in this story particularly, but it's part of Way-of-Impeccability. There's a whole session on this, right? It's a very big deal. So that's why I wanted to hear your Sanskrit, the poems, the mantras, or whatever it is that you were sharing. Right?
Right.
Because Sanskrit is a very, very layered language.
Yeah.
It is one of the most sophisticated and complex languages out there. And typically what, when you're reading it, we typically get a very basic translation usually. But when you really see them go into detail and say, well, this could mean this, they do capital D discernments, capital R readings of Sanskrit, and one word has multiple layered meanings, etc. So this could have been, it's an ancient tongue. It's one of the oldest out there. And in this, did you read your poem aloud
I
out
chanted
there?
it as loud as I
Oh,
could
you
over
chanted
the
it.
valley. I did.
Right. Right.
Um, do you want me to say the Sanskrit or just the English interpretation?
How long is it?
Not very long.
Oh, okay, then say it in the Sanskrit and the English. I mean, if it was like, a very long thing, well, then, us
Oh,
going through the Sanskrit might be a bit much, because we don't know what you're saying. But if
right.
it's shortish, then when we hear the Sanskrit, now we aren't listening for the word meaning. We are listening for the emotional meaning, the intent meaning, the attitude that you did. So try and read it or chant it in exactly as closely as you can to how you did it
Oh
then.
my God.
Yeah.
Okay. You put me on
Oh,
the spot.
I know it's a big ask. I'm asking you to step up a little bit, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here. This is an opportunity where you can do this. And, we're asking you to do it. Yes. So this is a
Okay.
big deal. So yeah, please, this is very, very cool to hear. And I'd love to hear this. I mean, this is just exciting for me to hear this. And the others too. It's cool.
Okay.
It's very cool. And we're
Okay.
listening.
Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, He Prabhu Dina Dayala Hare. Twameva Mata Chapita, Twameva Bandhu, Chastaka Twameva Vidya, Drave Nam Twameva Sarnam, Mama Deva Deva. You are my mother, my father, you are you. You are my friend like a brother, you are. You are my wealth, my wisdom, you are. You are my light of life. Au saha na vavatu, saha nu bunaktu, saha viryam kareva vahai, tesasvina vitityam astu ma vidivisha vahai. Or Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we together be protected. May we together be nourished. May we together with strength and energy. May we work together with strength and energy. May our study be illuminating and powerful. May we be free from discord. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Wow.
Om Spasti Prab. So I'm still learning this. It was a lot more easier
great.
for me to sing
It's
out
great.
there. Prabya Paripalayantam Nayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Gobra Manebya Shubham Astu Nityam Luka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the rulers of the earth protect the well-being of the people by the means of the virtuous path. May there be eternal good fortune for all living beings. May the inhabitants of the world be full of happiness. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Wow.
That was one of the chants. Yeah.
Wow. Now for me, what I heard in the very first stanza was an open invitation to connect.
Yeah. And then I sang a closing mantra. Do you want me to do that one?
Sure. Read the English on the last one, the closing.
Okay. Oh, may the rulers of the earth protect the well-being of all people by means of the virtuous path. May there be the eternal good fortune for all living beings. May the inhabitants of all worlds be full of happiness. May it rain at the proper time. May the Mother Earth be resplendent with grains, fruits, and wholesome foods. May this country be free from crisis. May our contemplative intellect be without fear.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So again, if I abstract, right, this is to
Yep.
me how I, the tool, and in the story, and Biella knew all. This is the tool of how to deal with things that we don't understand. Abstract and zoom out. So to me, this poem you're reading, it started with an abstract invitation for connectivity. Invitation to is somebody hearing it, something hearing it, and now then as you went on, the other stanzas are expressing your good intent, your positivity, right? Your connectivity, your good wishes for everything. So you are saying, yes, let's connect, but I'm not here to connect to exploit you. I'm here to connect to just connect and to do, connect via positivity. I have positive intent, in other words, right? And it's a very, very
Yes.
big deal that. So I feel that, did you share this afterwards or before?
I chanted it the next day after it had happened, and I smudged the area.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to run away, and I wanted
Good.
to the presence to understand that I was there to be peaceful and to not
Wonderful.
disturb it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And the
Wonderful.
reaction that I got the second night was completely different and very interesting as well.
Oh, I thought it was a repeat. All right, let's hear. So what happened on the second night? That's very significant.
Second night, yes, my friend was scared, so he didn't want to go to sleep. From what I understand,
Yeah.
I've actually processed a lot of it already, but it's a story and it's applicable to what you were talking about. We were sitting around the fire playing with sticks like a drum, and it would sit out on the edge and repeat our patterns back to us with a stick.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there was very real interaction and communication.
Yeah. So then we stopped and we just sat in silence for the last couple of hours. And then at the crack of dawn, we pulled out our sticks again to see if it was gone, and it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look what Elizabeth says. When you are a non-physical or an alternate timeline, wouldn't you want to try to communicate with those in a body or a different time? For me, I think it's important to try to understand the reasons why you're trying to connect. Yes. Now, again, this happened very benignly, but I also want to emphasize that not all such interactions end benignly.
Exactly.
Yes? So we do want to be very, very cautious and careful in terms of opening ourselves up into this, because you're exploring blindly. Now, in this case, it all worked out beautifully and wonderfully, and it seems to me that the bigger point of this was simply the universe letting you know that the world does not work the way we think it does. That there are other things out there that are unexplained. Right? I mean, this is a profound anomaly. Now, so let's magical place up there. Love the energy everywhere. Everyone I go and I go and long to go back. Oh, you've been there. Oh, every time I go and long to go back. Oh, that's interesting. Lisa's actually been there. Yeah, Lisa's she's lived a magical, wonderful life. So always surprise you. Always moreness from Lisa there. It's fantastic. So my deeper point from an abstract point of view is to say, wow, there is moreness out there. And this is a very profound thing. When we understand and we know conclusively, like if you've never experienced something like this before, you may or may not, but I'm just, let's just assume, if this is the first time this has happened to you, your life has changed. Even though there was nothing, the thing that you interacted with didn't give you some message or something, but it did in a sense. What was the implication is that things can exist that make no sense whatsoever.
Right.
So now your world has expanded profoundly. That moreness has just opened up, right? I mean, this is one out of a zillion things, but you know that your normal way of thinking about the world can no longer exist, right?
Yes.
It can't. It was broken. It was shattered by that experience, particularly the confirmation the next night. You can't write it off to say, well, it was the wind. It was like, wind through a hole or some weird thing. No, if you were
No.
tapping and it was repeating your pattern, you know, this is conscious, this is deliberate. So now you've got a whole different paradigm to explore.
Well,
But I do
you know,
want to.
here's the thing. We went through a period of silence because we chose not to interact with it when it was tapping back to us.
Interesting. Yeah, because you didn't know what you were doing. Yeah.
No. And the best choice is just not to interact.
Exactly.
And to be peaceful.
Prudence. Exactly. So you had an interaction and you were able to interact peacefully and gently and not cause anything, but still your world was changed. Just knowing that it did happen, this is enough, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a profound thing. It's a very big deal. Now, I do want to emphasize with these type of activities, we hear and we might see stuff happening, but we are perceiving on a limited spectrum of perception.
Yes.
Let me repeat that. We are perceiving on a limited spectrum of perception. And unless we are able to perceive with full spectrum perception, in other words, to see energy directly, then we are only going to get only get to get the partial perception of what's going on, right? Because when I say perceive energy directly, I mean the energy that's underlying the universe, as in when we say M is equal to E divided by C squared, right? When you rearrange E equal MC squared, right? So everything is energy, but matter, mass, material, things that exist, whether they have mass or not, they are all energy. That E energy, the energy divided by C squared, right? Energy profoundly slowed down, in other words, right? That's the way I take it at any rate. So when we understand that things are in essence, this capital E energy, but we can't perceive that energy directly. We have to have it translated into something hard, something substantial, or waves, electromagnetic spectrum, all of the things that are part of our reality, right? Those are all representations of that capital E. So, but we can, as individuals, perceive E directly. We've just fallen out of that skill because it's a very different way, it's a bit more complicated. When we simplify things in this reality, we're actually simplifying that E, and we exclude lots of things which we don't necessarily want to see or hear, like these types of things. Yeah. This is a very profound thing. But if you're going to go around interacting with the stuff, and be aware that unless you can perceive energy directly, you're only going to be seeing part of the picture, and what you think you see or hear is not actually what's going on, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
it could
just
be
to be careful.
different in the timeline that's still there.
Exactly.
It could be anything. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, what you think is, unless you can, if you perceive energy directly, you're able to perceive intent directly. So like you guys stopped with the tapping. Now, for that particular creature in its reality, your tapping may have been the start of the preliminary rituals for war.
Yeah, who knows?
Exactly. But if you can see the energy directly, you'll be able to perceive the intent directly, and you say, oh, wow, this thing's starting to amp up, to get violent or get aggressive. Wow, better stop. See, now you don't know. It could be the opposite. It could have been a preliminary thing to, love making, whatever. You don't know, right? So it's not necessarily negative. I'm simply saying this. So hello, Matt. Hello, Matt. Which Matt is this that's joining us here? Very cool. Which Matt is this? Thank you, Ramsey, for alerting me. Matt Love! Matt, you're welcome to come on Zoom and chat. We're having a most profound digression here, and this is a very big deal. So our theme is to be open to anomalies, but also to be prudent and judicious when it comes to anomalies that are outside of our comprehension. So yes, we want to be open to learning, but we also want to be not too open that we don't go blundering into things that we don't know. So to me, I felt that your way you dealt with this was profound, was very strategic, and you had that poem on hand. But I want to bring in one more point here when dealing with this type of anomalies. And this is part of the attunement philosophy, which in Way of Impeccability is a whole module on it. It's a big deal, very big discussion. So attunement is you need awareness and you've got anomalies in order to attune, right? That's the golden triangle there. So we got the anomalies part, and we're talking about the awareness part, right? To have this prudence, to be open, but also at the same time to be prudent. Yes, to be sensible. However, when it comes to anomalies, almost always, and the story is revealing that, the story we're reading, right, chapter 2. The story shows how when anomalies come, they are almost always intimately personal. So now let me ask you, well, before I ask you this question, Lisa says, to understand what it means to us, not possible to understand much else without sobriety and confidence. Precisely. We want to have confidence in our sobriety, which means that we want to be practicing impeccability. Yes. So this is very cool. This is very cool. Yes, I'm thrilled that you're here, Matt. This is most fantastic. It's fantastic. Please share what comes up in you, Matt. Please share. All right. So now, I wanted to say though, when you went up on that mesa, where it's you're on a mesa, right? If I understand correctly, on top, right? Well, anyway,
Yes.
when you went and you went there in the first place, that whole activity, in the lead up to that, and when you were lying down, what was in your mind, in your heart? And I mean, like, stuff that's kind of going on you that hasn't quite been resolved yet. Yes, and it's kind of sitting in the back of your mind. You may not even have been thinking about it, but it may have been going on for weeks or months or even years. But for whatever reason, it was coming up in you maybe a little more lately, recently, and it was just something that you were carrying with you, right? So if I looked at you from an energetic point of view, I say, well, she's pretty okay and relaxed, but yes, this thing that's busy trying to resolve itself. It's kind of a knot there, right? In the greater context of your energy. Right. So was there anything like that was going on inside you, in your mind, in your heart at the time?
I've been through a major healing process in the last year. I've done a lot of somatics and dance therapy. I've done art therapy. I've done a ton of uncording umbilically from generational trauma and discovering what mine is and letting those things go.
So in that particular lead up, that day,
Yeah.
that afternoon, that evening, what particularly had popped up in you, more specifically, that was like, yeah, and it was not necessarily stressful, but you may be like, wow, I really wonder about this, right? Or I really want to sort this out. I really want to resolve this. Could be anything that has some kind of an energetic, motivational pressure.
Well, my natural path seems to think, after running my vibrational patterns, that it was more of an initiation ceremony into self-worth and self-empowerment, like claiming my power back.
Interesting, fascinating. And that's really cool, is it not? In a sense, to say that, yes, you do have power. The issue is not whether you have it. It's the issue is how you use it.
Yeah.
Because that whole incident from an abstract was clearly something happened, and clearly it was meant for you, more so than for your friend who was with you, right?
Right.
Because he didn't wake up and you did, right? And then when it did come again, he was all afraid when he didn't really have reason to be afraid. So that, but if you look at this from a confirmation that you do have moreness, you do have energy, things can happen, and also you had the prudence to say, oh, the thing's tapping back, let's chill, let's leave it out. So it's a confirmation that you do have sobriety and sensibility, as Lisa says. It's the sobriety that's the issue. Yes.
I was sober all weekend when it happened. So
capital S sobriety.
Yeah.
Capital S sobriety, not anything to do with substances. Right?
Okay.
Sobriety as in super sensibility, as in thoughtfulness, as in thinking things through to the end, as in the ability to see sensibility in the greater overall perspective,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
that kind of sobriety.
I just took into consideration what my Navajo friends told me that day to do. And then I used my tools from yoga to kind of create an energetic bubble around me for protection.
Wow. So when you say your Navajo friends told you that day, which day? Day 1 or day 2?
I told my friends on day 1 what happened.
Oh, the day after the night it happened.
Yes, the night after it happened.
And then they said to you to do things. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
I'm an earth spiritualist, so naturally,
Gotcha.
smudging isn't that off for me to do. And
Yeah. But now smudging may have been something, well, if you're clearing spiritual energy, maybe smudging is something that would chase it away, and they didn't particularly
right.
appreciate that.
Well,
Just saying.
either that or makes peace, around me
Right.
and
Okay.
offers some protection, rather than
Yeah,
running away
yeah.
and being afraid of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, alternative ways of interacting. So on that night specifically, when you guys went to sleep, was there when you actually lay down, you got to the camping, was there anything that was inside you other than the usual normal stuff? Just before it started, or when it started, what was going on inside you when it started?
I was sleeping when
What
it
did you go
started.
to sleep with? What did you go to sleep with?
I was inside my tent with my dog and my friend.
I mean, go to sleep with in terms of things that you were connected to, in terms of an intent, a feeling, a motivation, an idea. Sometimes we go to sleep and we're thinking about the children, we're thinking about work, we're thinking about our spirit, we're thinking about our life, we're thinking about our death, something like that.
I've nothing really.
Interesting.
Maybe the location where we were and just trying to figure out the logistics on our camping spot.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's not always a direct connection, but
well, I was actually clearing the solar plexus when I was there.
You were clearing your solar plexus?
Right.
And what does that mean to you?
Well, it's layers.
It's layers?
Layers of emotion in the solar plexus, which actually brings us back to the conversation that we were having before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I was there to actually go back and just kind of sit with my feelings after having made 2 runs for Crown Point and Navajo Nation during COVID. That's why I went there.
So would you say the overall takeaway from this is, 1, that you have moreness? This is clear.
Yeah, I guess so.
2, you may not know what to do with your moreness. Also
True.
Clear.
Yeah.
3, you need to exercise prudence and caution and learn the skills of sobriety, of impeccability in order to deal with your moreness. Yes. Because you have an external representation of moreness, but yet no clue what's going on. So we need to learn more. So the bottom line is, yes, have some faith and trust in yourself, that not only do you have moreness, but should it come on you in surprising ways, you're able to deal with it. That doesn't mean that you want to go and put yourself in those situations just willy-nilly, right? But that you can take some solace from the fact that you did deal with it appropriately. So therefore, the capital T, trust of yourself is very crucial. Until I know more, I have to trust the little that I do know.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean I want to have that trust pressed upon, right? I don't have to go and test it. But should I need to trust it, I will, because you've had experience to say that, hey, trust whatever little you know. At the same time, you need to learn more, both together. What a profound life lesson. What a profound life lesson. It's the same essential life lesson that Shar is going to be learning in the story. The same thing. Same thing.
Thank you.
Really cool. This is just phenomenal. And how things connect. And you see what happened. I asked you to say something random. You see how there was a pressure for this to come out. I mean, your answer wasn't quite a random thing, but it's like this happens when we get an opening and something needs to come out. We take that opening, right? And this is part of, in this environment, this interactivity, this community that I am sharing and making space for. This is exactly what we aim to do. Where technically your response wasn't saying a random thing, but also technically it is. Yeah, it's fantastic. The door opened. and you put something in it that was a little bit more than expected. And we ran with it, and look at the magic that's come. How it comes full circle to the story. Your experience, Shar's experience, same thing. You don't necessarily know the end of the story, but it's the same thing. As we go along, you'll see. It's a very profound thing. It's a very, very, very profound thing. It's very exciting that Matt came too. That's very cool. That's very cool. So yeah, Matt, I'm keen to have you more here. We're really getting into some very profound stuff here, or every time. It's a big deal, these conversations. Ramsey, Elizabeth, Elisa, anything to share on what Sarah has so generously shared with us and so wonderfully. I mean, this is a big deal, Sarah. It's a very big deal. It's why I encourage this people just to share. It doesn't always make sense what you're saying. Somebody like, an outside observer could read those comments, but what is she saying this for? How does she come on this? But you see the power of it. Magic resolution of doubt. So let me ask you this though. I'm sharing my perspective on things, but do you feel more at ease with the entirety of the incident as an incident? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, pleasure, man.
I've done
Pleasure,
a lot
pleasure.
of work with it.
Exactly.
I feel like it came up for whatever reason for me to practice, and in my yoga classes I was able to chant a lot louder and say my words a little better. And Sanskrit, like you said, is a very difficult language.
Correct. Once you click on the pronunciation, it will come a lot easier, because we can hear your English pronunciation of those Sanskrit words. So once you click on how to pronounce them in the Sanskrit way, your accent, your pronunciation, everything will change. So some of the vowels are used differently; they sound differently to what we pronounce them, and so on. Also, pay attention to the syllable emphasis. Typically in English, most words, if you don't know what they are, just emphasize the second syllable, and life will be easy. Right? But in other languages, they look understand, for instance, right? If you don't know that. Sobriety, confidence, right? See? And I'm exaggerating, but confidence, as opposed to saying confidence, different word, see? When I emphasize the third syllable, or confidence. See, it's all different word. So typically in English, it's second syllable, but in other languages, maybe other syllables. So just click on that, but also the way the vowels or the sound, like, we say a and, it's different. Like you even see that between vase and vase, see, English American. But in other languages, like in Sanskrit specifically, there's a very different style of pronunciation. So when you shift that, then it's going to be a lot easier for you, and you'll find a greater fluidity with the words to use them. But that's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, the whole incident, and look at the technique that we used. We looked at this from an overview, abstract point of view. What's the underlying lesson? What does it mean to me, and how does it connect to me personally? Yes, and this is the power of anomalies. They are almost always intimately personal. And the more you think about this, what was it for me personally? What did I need to learn? What did I need to hear? Right? What was important for me to know? And more is going to come. So yes, lots of processing involved here. Lots of processing. Lisa and Ramsey and Elizabeth, I'm keen to hear more from you guys. I'm very, very keen to hear more on this. Before we carry on. Yeah, I mean, this is a big thing, Sarah. And of course, much for you to process. Typically, when we have such profound experiences, they can last us a lifetime. Yeah, as you know, from vision quests. Yeah, I mean, a vision quest, you're going out and seeking something like this deliberately. Yeah. Now, this may be relatively small relative to sometimes with a vision quest, you get a whole profound, like this movie that downloads, and but doesn't matter. It's still, vision quest is the deliberate seeking of an anomalous interaction, an extended anomalous interaction, if we put it in this language, right? Okay. That's all right. Ramsey. Shara was sharing about this supernatural experience, an anomalous. Let's just call it in the context of our language here. To say, supernatural has all sorts of baggage with it. If we just say anomalous, it changes everything.
Right.
Because now, especially because we are using anomaly as a capital A anomaly, In this context here, anomaly means something that is happening, that is a connectivity between us and moreness. It's access to moreness. The moreness, our inner moreness, the moreness that's out there, universal moreness, doesn't matter. So anomalies are these doorways, these portals of access. And access to what? To moreness. And look how much moreness has come out of this, right? Just you getting an idea of yourself. The first one was, hey, the world does not work the way we think it is. Having this as a proven, actual fact in your life, it's life-changing. You can't go back and say, well, you know what, before that, I knew the world didn't, and these things didn't really, they were speculative. I knew they could happen, but I never really experienced them myself. So I couldn't say truthfully that I know they do happen, but now you can. Now you can. Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt in your mind that this was something that was anomalous and inexplicable, right? So,
right. Well, the thing that came
exactly.
up for me was, maybe it was just a bad dream, but my parasympathetic and my sympathetic nervous system had clues that it wasn't, and I had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
actually take action through that to
yeah.
calm me down
Wow,
when I got
wow,
home.
wow. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's go but say, oh, it was a bad dream. Well, now you know that the world doesn't work the way you think it is, because you can have bad dreams that can look exactly like reality. It doesn't matter. Either way, the point is made. See? Either way, the point is made. Wow, if I could have a dream that's so real that I truly believe it's real, then, uh, well, this could all be one big extended dream. In other words, it says that don't be so certain about what is real. Real is in inverted commas, yes? Ramsey makes a
Yes.
fantastic point here. Well, anomalies for us is normal for the universe. Exactly, exactly. And Lisa asked a very important question. Was it a bad dream, as in a negative experience?
In the beginning, the sound really was a negative feeling, but the way it ended, I felt very peaceful with.
Mm.
And I feel like I handled it pretty well.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right, so now we come to a very, very, very profound point, right? So you'll hear in this culture that we are sharing in, the new nobility culture based on way of impeccability. And again, I'm not sharing this to say follow this, do this. No, I'm sharing it to show it's an alternative paradigm. This is the important point, that there are alternative paradigms to the superiority paradigm, to the way we default, to the way we automatically do things. So what happens in the typical interaction when something new and different comes about? New and different is for most people unknown. When something is truly unfamiliar, it's unknown. Unknown equals scary. So when you hear this unknown sound, right, the initial reaction is to be scared because it's unknown. Is it actually scary, or is it simply unknown, different, weird?
Unknown, different, weird.
You see the difference though, right? So
Yeah.
now, though, once you get over that, okay, but if you didn't get over it, of course, the confirmation bias could start feeding it, and you start convincing yourself it is scary, and you act as if it's scary when actuality it's not, right? And so this is a very profound. So we can end up reacting completely inappropriately simply because of assumptions, misinterpretations, and faulty thinking. So awareness, but it's not, you had awareness of the sound, but then the second part is discernment. So it's ADU. Right? Discernment is to layer it, to say, is this really so, or is there more going on? That's discernment, to go past the surface, to look at the depths, look at the layers, look at the connectivity. So you started discerning the sound. Say, well, like you just did now, you said, well, actually, it was just unknown, different, weird, not inherently necessarily scary. It could have been, but
Right.
it wasn't
Well,
inherently so.
I actually yelled at it thinking that maybe if I said, hey, like at a dog, it would stop, but it wouldn't stop. It didn't even hear me. It
Oh.
felt like it didn't respond. It didn't do anything. It just kept.
Gotcha. Interesting. So, but that means that if it didn't respond to you, likely by implication, it wasn't necessarily that connected to you. It may have just been doing its own thing. For all you know, this is this thing's meditation space, and it came there to read its own version of the Sanskrit poem, and you just happened
True.
to be there. Right? We don't know. But my point is about confirmation bias and our assumptions, that if we start to insist that the unknown is scary, then we create it, we make it scary to ourselves when it isn't inherently so. And of course, when you feed off that, it can create the thing in the other person. For instance, I once was stopped in the night. It wasn't even that late at night. It was like, but it was dark already, by a policeman, right? And my taillight was out. So I get out of the car and I'm standing behind him. And I have a very positive response. My attitude towards police, I feel they're doing the worst job in the world. So I'm very positive to them. This guy happened to be on his own. But because I got out and came a look there, and he was quite a bit smaller than me too, he was shivering with nervousness, shivering with nervousness, right? And I didn't say it to him, but I said, dude, if you're going to be doing this, you're going to end up getting into trouble because you are cueing fear. If I was not confident and happy in myself, I could have felt his fear and started to feel afraid myself, because fear is contagious. Then I start acting in a fearful way, and of course, the next thing, he ends up shooting me. That's how the stuff happens, right? The things feed off of itself. So my point is, I wasn't aggressive or fearful, but I can easily see how somebody who is just goes by his mood could start feeling that and acting weirdly, and now the thing starts to escalate because they feed off each other. So my point is, we can, by our behavior, our moods, our attitudes, we can cue things in other things, and we can change. Like when I started off happy and friendly, but it could easily have led to me being fearful, aggressive, whatever, right? I mean, I had to really, really be exceedingly disciplined to not let his mood infect me. It was an amazing thing. It was truly amazing. So exactly, fear of the unknown or the unknowable, which is a different thing to the unknown. But yeah, so I'm going to read Lisa's comment in a moment. So I want to just make this distinction now. And when we say in this experience, you initially started off and you were a bit afraid, but then as you paid attention, you said, well, not necessarily. So you did practice that discernment. Now, the last part of that is understanding. And all right, you at least have some understanding, a little bit more, but you didn't have enough data to come to true understanding. But all of ADU is geared towards application. So what is the application that comes from this? Well, I need to learn more. Yes, that's the application. That's the takeaway from it. Yeah. Lisa says, I've had para experiences on native lands also, twice while camping. The idea that it was an hour though, wow. Yeah, so that it's a long time for this to go on. I agree with Lisa. That's somewhat unusual. And also she says that when it comes to dreams, it can be that space between awake and sleep, vivid dreams. But it's not, the technical term is actually the hypnagogic state, when we're crossing over, when we're falling asleep, and it's a particular part of the mind that gets stimulated, and they can be very vivid images, yes. And they're not quite dreamy like a normal dream. They tend to be more like flashes coming. But that's, I've never known of that to happen for an hour. But I don't think that this, from what you say, it doesn't seem like this was a dream. At least may initially, because it's weird, and that's just our mind looking for an explanation to explain what isn't in our database, our repertoire. And we have to be very, very, very careful of that. If we encounter something that is truly different and unfamiliar, and we're going to insist in putting it into what we know, we have to distort it. Yeah. And that's how most people end up. They like, you can walk with somebody, and this has happened to me many times. I see something truly anomalous. I say, wow, did you see that? And they're like, well, at least initially they're like, wow. And then a little bit later, and you can see it happen in them, they can't handle it. It's too much for them. And they start to rationalize it, and they start to justify it. And then the next day or an hour or whatever later, you say, what was that happened again? And then they will just say, it was just this, it was just that. And they minimize it, and it's trivial, and it's nothing. So we have to be very careful of this. And you didn't do that, which is very powerful. Yeah, fear of the unknown can absolutely corrupt us. And here we come to Moreness. Moreness is this profound theme. It's a philosophy. It runs throughout the story. Capital M more, you're going to see where capital M more, and there's always more how it comes in. So Moreness is the consequence of that. It's this underlyingness of this connectivity. When we shift unknown to Moreness, we are much more open. Now, of course, within Moreness, there can be danger. and this. However, when we also understand cueing, yeah, we can say because we are starting off positively, we are reducing the chances of inappropriately cueing like that policeman. Yeah, we don't want to be doing that by walking around fearful and walking around in the unknown. We're walking around in moreness. We have confidence. We're relaxed. We're
Exactly.
at ease. We're not a threat. And this is a very big thing that you did consciously, right? You shifted from the fear to the moreness. Yes, Sarah?
Yes, I would definitely say that with the
Yeah,
chanting and
exactly.
creating a positive experience, at least, or
Exactly.
you know, um, I didn't understand what had happened, so I just wanted to
Yeah,
put out
yeah.
peace.
Right. Now, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Sorry.
Well, I
Just to,
understand that it was their own environment and whatever's
exactly.
going on, I had walked into.
Exactly. So in your chanting, now, to back up again, sorry, I'm interrupting my own sentence here. But what I wanted to say is, if we are explorers out into the moreness, how do we communicate when our languages are not the same? And sign language, whatever, none of it is the same. The one thing that is universal is intent. We can always communicate via intent. So whatever you were communicating and connecting with, it may have no clue as to what you were saying in your chants, but the intent was clear. The intent was to be respectful. The intent was to be calm, peaceful, loving, courteous, considerate, kind, generous, whatever, right? It was positive intent, but particularly to be respectful. Yes, and to say, hey, I'm open to communicate, but also I'm being respectful or trying to be. I don't know. So part of that intent is I don't know. Yeah. So when we are clear about our intent, which is module 1, session 1, right, Lisa, of Way of Impeccability, clarity of intent. That's why I asked you for the Sanskrit and for the English, because when we listened to that Sanskrit and I hear that from an intent point of view or a query or a question, it really seemed like there was an earnestness coming through. Yes, and earnestness always gets our attention when you were saying it in Sanskrit, right? Even though I don't know what it says, but the earnestness is very, very real. Or it's very palatable, palpable, I should say. So this is very powerful, very powerful. So when we think of this in terms of dealing with the unknown, be very clear about your own intents. And this is, of course, when we have impeccability. You cannot have anything other than appropriate, good, powerful, wonderful intents. Yes. You
Yes.
can't. You can't go around being crappy and negative and egotistical and bullshitty and all this. Can't do it. It's just not possible. Right?
Yes, no, it's not possible.
Yeah. So I might not know what the hell is going on, but the one thing I do know is that my intents are impeccable. My behaviors might not be, my actions might be completely ridiculously inappropriate. But how often haven't you dealt with people who are thoroughly inappropriate, but you know their intent is good? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bina's grandpa story with a toothbrush. Were you here for that story?
No.
Bina was a child, and she had a severe toothache, and she was really struggling with it. And in that climate and environment, same when I was a kid, painkillers, man, you just didn't get them, right? I mean, I remember scraping my feet on the tar, and they were scraped raw. You could see the raw flesh underneath, and the nerves were exposed, and these things throbbed like hell. Did I get painkillers? No. Sorry, you just got to stick it out. That's it. Anyhow, so anyway, so grandpa comes along and he says, "Oh, Sam, you poor thing," and he says, I've got a solution for you. And he goes away and he comes back. And he comes back and says, "Yeah, here's my toothbrush. Just brush it with a toothbrush and it'll be better." Bina's horrified. Bina runs away. But grandpa's, "Oh, this will really help you." And he chases her all around the house. So they were visiting. And he chases her all around the house with a toothbrush. Come back, so really help, so really help. Eventually, Bina finds Mama, and she goes and Mama kind of intervenes and says, Grandpa, yes, it will help, but it's your toothbrush. And Grandpa's like, yeah, I didn't think of that. He didn't click at the time that he was suggesting something thoroughly inappropriate. But Bina understood, and the reason she didn't say anything to him was because of this conundrum. As a child, though, she understood that Grandpa's really trying to be helpful. I can't say, Grandpa, that's ridiculous, that's silly, because he's really trying to be helpful. She didn't know how to resolve that. She didn't have capital diplomacy in her arsenal then. So all she could do was run away. Mama came and saved her. So my point is about intent. Bina, even though the action was thoroughly inappropriate from Bina's perspective, from Grandpa's, it wasn't. Now, I said to, you know what, we might not think, it's not that Grandpa was in a bubble and is clueless and, senile or anything. No, you may have grown up in a household where there was only one toothbrush and they just had to share. We think it's so unthinkable, but, a lot of things that many people do in the world, they do, and it's not unthinkable to them at all. Yeah. So it's a very profound point of perspective shifting. The world does not work the way we think it does, right? So from Grandpa's point of view, it may not have even been a thought, yeah? But intent, that's the point though. She could clearly perceive his intent. Inappropriate as the action was, the intent was not inappropriate, yeah? So to distinguish between actions and intent. And most creatures, doesn't matter. You go out into the jungle, right? And you see, like when the zebra and the deer and everything, when they go down to the water hole and the lions are right there, very close to them, right? They're checking out the lions, but they go and drink. Why? Because they know the lions have fed, and they know that the lions are just chilling. They can see the intent is not to hunt, so they can go and drink, right? Intent is very difficult to disguise. If we start paying attention to intent, we see the whole world in a very different way. And when we look at the intent of anomalies changes, that's that first to come back to where we were before, right? And a good point to leave off onto, right? If we go back here to where we were on the tasks and exercises, right? And we are the very first question. If you were to be in charge of anomalies, capital A anomalies, right? And maybe also for yourself, what would they be? How would they come? What would they communicate? So now we are looking at the intent of anomalies, in other words, right? And how that intent is going to be communicated. Yes. And there's a very particular thing. If your intent is not to give an answer, because giving answers is not actually helpful, it may actually be counterproductive, right? Like I was doing my crossword puzzle one day. I was 13 or 14, something like that. My brother walks by and looks over my shoulders. Oh, and he sees me, whatever I was busy with. Oh, that means this one. And then the next one is that one. And he basically ended up giving me half the crossword puzzle, showing off being a smart aleck. And I said to him, F off. I swore at him. And it was like, he was really, really blown away. He was completely shocked at my response to him. But I was trying to help. I said, no, you just ruined the whole crossword for me. You just took all the fun out of me figuring out. It wasn't the point isn't to get the answers and write it in. I mean, where's the fun of that? The fun is figuring it out for yourself. That's the way I learn. That's where my brain trains. That's where I learn how to do crossword puzzles, is by figuring them out for myself. You giving me the answers doesn't help me to learn how to do crossword puzzles. It took a little bit to get through this. And then when he did, he realized, oh, yeah, sorry. So in the same way, anomalies don't want to be giving you those crossword puzzle answers, right? They want to encourage you to think for yourself, right? So they want to get to leap out of the paradigms, to shift out of your usual. They have all sorts of potential intents. And that's the point of this question. So maybe something to take away with, and we're going to continue on this tomorrow, right? Well, maybe this other question too. Elaborate on how anomalies resolve doubt. Yeah. So big, massive, big question. So anything further to share before we go, Sarah? And, I just cannot tell you how appreciative I am of you coming, and this whole magical story that you told us, to share this incident of yours is profound, Sarah. It's profound. And how you dealt with it, how you reacted, all the moreness that came from it. Look, simple thing, right? Simple thing. You took a chance and the chance paid off. Yes.
Yes.
Go, Sarah. Go, Sarah. Go, Sarah. Really, it's truly a big deal. I realize it's not always easy for people to do these chances, but when you do and you step up a bit, look, you stepped up, you read your thing, you did. Man, this is huge. This is huge. Very, very powerful. Lisa, Elizabeth, Ramsey, anybody share before I go? Please share. I'll wait a few moments here and just enjoy the magic of what happened today. It's truly magic, magic, magic. Lots of magic, lots of magic. Oh, Matt did say hello for the mornings. Gotcha, gotcha. I love magic, and this is what I mean by magic. When things happen, moreness comes. That's all magical. I don't necessarily mean like your incident was magical, but to me, it's magical that people are more. That's magical. What's magical is like what you did today. You stepped up, you came, you shared, you did more, you pressed your own boundaries. That's magical to me. Right? So when I use magic, it's a very broad term. And like Biella would say, Biella's one of our most famous quotes is, if you don't believe in magic, for heaven's sake, broaden your definition. If you don't believe in magic, for heaven's sake, broaden your definition. Right?
Right. That's beautiful.
Isn't that a cool quote?
Yeah.
Very cool quote.
Well, that's how we get to
cool
play
quote.
with language and perspective, and it's beautiful.
Exactly. So magic
Thank you
is a
for
very
breaking
broad
it down for
term.
me to help me
Absolute
look
pleasure.
at it from a more healthier perspective. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
One of the key tools that I will keep on sharing over and over and over is perspective shifting to multiple perspectives and thinking things through to the end. Both of those are in all caps, multiple and to the end. And this is what we do. Once we have tools, that's why I don't want anybody to believe me. No, don't believe me. Please don't. Just I'm sharing tools. Use the tools. Use the tools. This is an opportunity, an interaction, an environment where we get to use the tools. So I got to use the tools, share them with you. Now you can go and get to use them. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So brilliant, brilliant. Ramsey says thank you. And Lisa, hopefully I'll see you again. Since our earlier thing got interrupted, I am very keen to actually get to do what we're going to. So, and Elizabeth, thank you as always. Just love it, just love it, just love it. Yeah, very, very cool. All right, Sarah, this is too fantastic. And we'll see more of you. We'll see more of you. It's so cool. It's so cool. And you have so much stuff to ponder and think about and unravel and consider from multiple perspectives, multiple perspectives. Think it through to the end. How will you know when you get to the end? Because you'll say, what else? And you'll get no answer. But right now, there's plenty what else, right? You know, when you say what else now, it's like too much, right? You got plenty to think about. I love it. I love it. So fantastic. All right. Bye-bye, Sarah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yeah. And may the moreness be with you. Yes?
Yes. The power of moreness.
May the moreness be with you. Bye-bye. 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 And